About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
Welcome to the Busy Girls Book Club. We are a podcast bringing you the updates you really want on some of the best books getting the most love on the internet. Today, we have a little throwback read for you. I'm Casey.
I'm Catherine.
And I'm Caitlin, and this entire episode is a meme. No, just one of the most ever popular books online. For the last, Catherine just pointed out, 20 years, which is really upsetting. Twilight. We're doing Twilight, guys. And honestly, this was Casey's idea, and it was a great idea because Casey had never seen the movies or read the books until very recently. And she watched the movies and decided to read the book.
Shame her.
We were like, yeah, let's do it, because I want to hear what she has to say about reading it as an adult post-movies when Catherine and I grew up reading them as middle schoolers pre-movies.
Crazy.
Also, who let us read these in middle school?
I mean, I read it in elementary school. Who let me read that in elementary school?
Stacy, we're looking at you, girl. Anyway, so if you don't know, Twilight, it takes place in Washington State. Picture Olympic National Park. That's essentially where we're at. Forks, Washington, which I have a story about.
I do too.
Bella lives with her dad, who's a sheriff, and she sees these mysterious family at her high school, and this one guy, Edward, really just, takes a liking to her. And she finds out it's because he's a vampire and she smells good. Anyway, this is basically about a 16-year-old falling in love with a 90-year-old vampire, which is probably the reason we all really love Ancient Fayman now, because we read this growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't love a vampire. It's not natural. So that's what the story is about. And there's a lot of drama because there's visiting vampires that go after her and blah, blah, blah. But the movies, man.
Yeah. He's perpetually a 17-year-old virgin.
Yep. That part actually made me gag when he tells her he's never been with anyone. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, do you guys have your reviews?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of good reviews for this book.
So many good ones.
So many people reading it as adults like Casey.
Yes. There are some, well, there's also people rereading it as adults being like, was I accurate in my 16-year-old self? And they're like, no, I was not. I was crazy for giving this so many stars. Yeah. So I have a 1-star review, and it just says, staring at a wall for an hour would be more interesting than reading this book.
Yep. I saw that one.
I have a 3-star. It says, higher if I rate on nostalgia.
Fair.
True. Okay, so I have 3, and they're all really good. All 1 stars.
Okay.
The first one I really related to. It said, did I like it? No. Will I read the next one? Yes.
Yes, read the next one.
Oh, I can't wait for you the next one.
Yeah, everyone says that. Okay. Second review, 1 star. I have a strong female character shelf here on Goodreads. This book is sorely tempting to make me make a weak female character shelf too.
Yes.
Bella is the queen of letting things happen to her.
Yes.
Bella's a whiny bitch.
Absolutely just down fucking bad for a man who's glanced at her twice. Okay. Last one. This one I thought was really funny in a different way. Because I don't know why this person was expecting what they were expecting. But anyway, 1 star. Couldn't even finish it. I was hoping for some kind of meaty exploration of the philosophical implications of being a member of another species, living amongst, befriending, and falling in love with people you would consider prey in other circumstances. What I got was a straight up romance novel starring Mary Sue and my evil ex-boyfriend. Super yuck. I was like, excuse me, what? You were expecting a meaty philosophical exploration?
Yeah.
Based on what?
It's like at this point, this book has been a meme so long.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're getting, that's on you, girl.
Yeah. I was like, unfortunately, babe, you're the one to blame in this scenario, I believe. So yeah. What did you guys oh wait, never mind. The overall Goodreads rating is 3.7 out of 5, and the overall Amazon rating is 4.4 out of 5. Shocking.
Okay, I'm going to need some parameters here. Am I rating it like I am 6th grade, 7th grade reading this, or am I rating it as an adult?
I think you can give both numbers.
I didn't reread it as an adult, so you can't give it both numbers. You have to give it your 6th grade self.
5 stars, baby.
Yeah.
Loved this book. Totally fell into the hype. It was like for my first kind of, I feel like, YA romance that I was reading that wasn't like a kid's book, you know?
Yeah. I will say, I think as putting me back into my 5th grade self, 10-year-old Catherine, I think I gave it 4 stars because I enjoyed it, but I wasn't in love with it.
You tell me 5th grade Catherine had a star rating system?
Yeah, because I didn't love this book. I actually, I didn't really enjoy reading that much back then. And this didn't get me into reading like Hunger Games did. So this was like 2 years before I had actually truly started reading.
Sucks. Pretty sure I read this pre-Hunger Games because that's how old I am.
No, I read it pre-Hunger Games. I did read it pre-Hunger Games. That's what I'm saying. It's like it didn't like invest me into reading as much like Hunger Games did. Like Hunger Games kicked off like a strong urge to read. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars, but I didn't read it as an adult, so it's been 15 years. So
no, this definitely was like my gateway drug to YA.
Yeah, this is so insane for me to listen to.
Just because of the timing of when it came out and where I was at in life. Like I was reading this in 6th, 7th grade. I now work with one of the teachers whose class I read it in during like silence.
That's crazy.
That's how long ago this was.
Holy shit.
So I think that was 7th grade. Yeah.
Well, Casey, I think you'll get a kick out of this because how I obtained this book as a 5th grader is do you remember Bluebonnet reading challenges?
Yep.
You don't tell me you got this from the library.
No. It's much worse than that. So the Bluebonnet reading challenge, for those non-Texans in the chat, basically you were given a task of reading, I think, like 25 books, but after each book you had to do like a knowledge exam or write an essay on it. And you had a whole year to do it. And then by the end of the year, the reason why you would want to be in the top, like do the 25 books is A, you get like your name on a plaque for all eternity, which is super cool. And B, you get a get out of school free card where you get to go on a field trip to Barnes and Noble and they give you $25 to spend on a book.
Oh no.
And guess what? Little Catherine spent her money on.
I thought you were going to say, like, we had summer reading, and if you read so many books, you got, like, free books. And I was going to be like, did the library give you that? But no. That is worse, honestly.
Yeah. So
you worked so hard for it.
It was in 2010. I walked into Barnes & Noble, and this was, the movie New Moon had just come out. So that was, like, movie number 2. And it was the front of Barnes & Noble, and I didn't feel like walking around. So I literally just picked up Twilight and then picked up these little like bookmarks that look like paper clips. And that's how I started reading Twilight as a 10-year-old.
That is crazy.
Also, I am Googling, and the movie came out in 2008.
Yeah.
Probably around when I read it. That's probably about when I read it.
So I had already watched Twilight, not New Moon yet. So I'd already watched the movie.
Fascinating. Okay, well, I'm most interested to hear Casey's star rating.
Yes. So I'll set the scene a little bit. As has been mentioned, I did not watch any of the Twilight movies. When I was younger, I did not read any of the books. My mom read the books and she was obsessed with them. And I was like, I'm not reading them. So yeah, I'm really like newly entering my Twilight era. I watched all the movies with one of my friends. I thought they were amazing. They're the campiest, most insane pits of garbage that are so fun to watch. I'm obsessed with
But
them.
at the time, we're like kind of cutting edge and really true to the book.
Yeah, exact. And now that I've read the book, I can tell you extremely true to the book.
Yep.
And the whole time I was watching the movies, I was like, this is truly insane. Not knowing that they were actually incredibly faithful to the source material. So yeah, and so I love the movies so much. I thought they were so campy and fun. I love a campy movie. And so I was like, I want to read the books. I gave this book 3 stars.
Okay. Fair.
Because it was horrible. It's truly such a bad book. But it is so entertaining. It's like watching a car crash happen. There are things that are so concerning for me, like when I'm thinking back on all the teenage girls reading them and falling in love with them. Because
Or 10-year-olds.
Yeah, 10-year-olds. Because Edward, like, literally stalks Bella. Like, he is actually a predator.
Yes.
At the time, it was somehow hot.
Yeah. He, like, confesses.
He appears in her bedroom, and you're like, oh, nice.
It was so insane. Also, Bella is the worst main character of all time. But they're like really, really fun to read. I felt actually very similarly to when I was reading Spark of the Everflame. And I was like, look, this is not the best book ever written, but I'm actually like feel very interested in like what is ultimately going to happen. So I gave them 3 stars.
I'll accept.
Yeah.
Totally insane and campy. The most insta-love ass book I've ever read. But it was so fun.
Okay. Here's why I want to tell my story before we get into the discussion. So this is a meme. Everybody knows Twilight. Everybody. So last summer, my family we did this like Pacific Northwest road trip, and we're in Olympic National Park. My sister and I have a playlist of Twilight songs playing in the car. And I'm running through the woods of the Hoh rainforest where some of this stuff is like basically shot. And I'm running past my sister and my brother-in-law, like, you think you can outrun me? And like jumping out from behind trees, like, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. And my brother-in-law and my sister, they're like cracking up. My sister and I are like, it's giving ho, 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 like, and then we go to the beach on the Indian reservation in Forks, Washington. And Hannah and I are constantly like, it's La Push, baby. And Bella, where you been, Loca? Like, we are quoting the crap out of this movie. I found out legit like 2-3 weeks ago. Jacob was just laughing. He'd never seen the movies. He just thought we were that dumb.
You thought you were just doing random bits?
I don't know I think the fact that I almost ate shit running by them in the rainforest saying, this is the skin of a killer, Bella, was just what was making him laugh. He had no idea what we were quoting. None at all. And that made it so much better in hindsight.
And people who don't understand, Forks is in the middle of fucking nowhere. It takes
Forks is a shithole, guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing in that town. Maybe I'll add that to our photo post. Maybe I'll put a little picture of me and Hannah with the Forks sign.
Yes.
Because that's about all there is to Forks.
I went there when I was like 13. So like a few years after I read the books and all the movies had come out. And I had told my parents, I want to go to Forks. And so we went out of our little journey in Olympic to Forks, and there is nothing there. Yeah. You're surrounded by just trees and mountains. And there's just like a restaurant with a vampire meter on it. Yes. But otherwise, it's just a waypoint on the Olympic Peninsula where there's nothing else going on. Yeah. And so honestly, imagine all of the girlies going there. The vibe gives Trump supporters. They had Trump signs up in that area. So it's really just like this little backwater town. Very, very rural. Wow. Glad I never went. Anyway, though, shame on Jacob. I hope he watches the movies so that he can actually understand how funny my sister and I are. You need to make him watch the movies. Like I said, that's on our list now because he said that and my jaw dropped. I was like, what were you laughing at?
Yeah. It's so funny.
What are you doing, Loca? Feel free to scroll back through my Instagram. There are captions from Forks that have Twilight quotes all over them. Yep. But that is the legacy of what these books and movies have become, is like you can quote them. Mm-hmm. And most people know what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, to do our non-spoiler discussion, this book is 20 years old, so I'm sorry, you might not be super faithful to the non-discussion, non-spoiler, mantra, but at this point, it's your fault. Also, I'll just say it, I highly recommend reading these books as an adult. I actually think it's better than reading them as a child.
Probably.
Okay. Because you can appreciate them for being insane and not actually think that they're good. While watching a 90-year-old man stalk a teenager. Okay. So
but he's got sparkly skin.
Daddy, I love him.
Yeah. Are the books I cannot even ask this question with a straight face. Are the books more plot or character driven?
I have no
Bella has
idea.
zero personality, so they're
yeah. Bella's character couldn't drive a scooter. So it's definitely not driving the series.
No. There's no character development, but there's also not a lot of plot.
Yes, there's almost no plot, which is insane because it's a big book. It's like 450 pages.
They're really just bopping around Fort Washington.
Semi-depressed teenager finds a like sparkly vampire who's obsessed with her.
Yes, the only entertaining thing on the Olympic Peninsula, apparently.
Yeah.
Also, honestly, now that you guys have described Forks, I kind of get why Bella was so desperate the whole book, because there's truly no other entertainment.
Yes.
No, and the nearest town is like well over an hour away.
Yeah.
It's even staying in Port Angeles where they go for dinner, which my sister desperately wanted to eat at that Italian restaurant. It was closed the day that she went.
Oh, no.
But like, it's very far from anything hospitable.
We were staying in Port Angeles when we drove out to Fort.
Yeah. And like when we were there was a restaurant open, and then like one of the two gas stations was half open. Like that's Forks.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Something I didn't know that surprised me about the books was that Stephenie Meyer details every single waking moment of Bella's life.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, she wakes up and she's like, I got up, I brushed my hair, threw on a blue jacket, brushed my teeth, grabbed a quick piece of toast, said bye to Charlie, headed out, started the truck, drove to school, thinking the whole way about, is Edward going to be there? Parked the truck. It's like you literally get every second of Bella's wakefulness.
That's probably what made the movies so easy to make, true to the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I do enjoy the internet now where it's, it used to be, are you Team Edward or Team Jacob? And now people our age are like, oh, I'm Team Charlie, actually.
Yes, Team Charlie. Justice for Charlie.
That man, he knew.
Yeah. And he was like, please, Bella, I'm really concerned about you.
Yes. He stays concerned about her for all 4 books.
As he should be. That's a good dad right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to add to that, sorry, because I was thinking along the lines of Charlie and how he, by the end, is totally okay with the addition to the family in the 4th book. I shit you not, we are at the visitor center for the Ho Rainforest, and I hear someone called to their child. Mind you, this is like where this stuff's filmed. I hear them go, come on, Renesmee.
No.
I am not kidding. I'm so serious. I almost threw up.
Kid Renesmee.
I almost threw up.
Dude, my jaw is on the floor. That's like legitimately the worst name I've ever heard of, I've ever experienced. It's like the stupidest name I've ever been conceptualized. I cannot believe someone actually named their child Renesmee.
And that CGI baby is so freaky.
Dude, it's so bad.
That's the only point where Charlie sucks. He's like, okay.
I guess you have a baby.
Sorry, not only have we spoiled the book, we spoiled the whole series. So,
okay, it's your fault by now if you have not heard about these books and movies.
Right. Okay. So another kind of redundant question, but have you or would you read other books by the author?
I guess this is more a question for you, Casey.
Yeah. I mean, you guys both finished the series, right?
Yeah.
I've got the box set on my shelf, baby.
I no longer have any of these books, but my mom did.
However, I have not read Midnight Sun, which is apparently Twilight from Edward's POV.
Yes, and I've read excerpts of it, and it's even grosser than you can ever imagine. That scene where he first meets her, he talks about how she smells and how much he wants to like rip her throat open.
But she smells good because they're soulmates.
It's so good. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I actually would. I would love to read the rest of the series. I have heard a lot about New Moon.
Yes.
It is probably the most infamous book in the series because of how just depressed and awful Bella is in it.
So whiny.
But yeah,
like clinically depressed.
Yes. Over a guy she's known for 2 weeks. It's insane.
But in New Moon, you get the wolves.
You do get the wolves.
Exactly. And I am really excited for Jacob because when you watch the movies, it's really hard to get Team Jacob, really, because he just doesn't really do that much.
You get so much more character building from him in the books than you do in the movies.
Yes.
And their friendship is like so much more nuanced than you realize in the movies.
And to be clear, I was Team Jacob because Edward did give me the ick.
Yes. I thought
also
Edward
Taylor
was so
Lautner's
ugly.
hot.
Well, yeah, that was very obvious. Yes.
I loved him as Shark Boy.
I loved him as Shark Boy. He was so
good. But yeah, also they toned down Edward's creepiness in the movie. Yes. So they made him a much more likable male lead, even though he's still a freak. And anyway, I'm really interested in reading the rest of it and experiencing it.
Yeah, you just have to get through New Moon and then you're sailing.
Yeah. You can just read the rest home free.
I still tore through it when it came out, so.
Right. They're actually just like go by really fast, even though they're written super like monotonous. Like, and you get like every single detail of Bella's just like absolutely insane. Also, pick me ass bitch.
Yep.
The most cringy writing of a clumsy character I've ever read. Like, she literally is like, I can't do that. I can't run because I'll just fall. Like, okay, babe.
I mean, she does almost get squished by a car for existing, so.
Right. But that wasn't her fault. That wasn't about being clumsy. So it was absolutely insane, but I am very invested in it and would love to read the characters as they move along in their journeys.
Also, Anna Kendrick's origin story.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love her in the movies.
In the movies, she's so great. She's such a foil to everything going on. And she's just like, do you think she's pregnant at the wedding? Like, she has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because who would get married this young?
Love.
Yeah. Okay. So how is the pacing of the book? How long did it take you guys to read?
I have no fucking idea at this point.
That was back in the phase, though, where I would just sit and read under my covers. So probably didn't take me long.
Yeah, I don't think it took me long, but I don't remember how long it did take me to read.
Totally fair. I don't remember actually either the exact number of days it took me. I think it took me like 4. Because I would just read it like before and after work. But I enjoyed it, and it was easy actually to fit into my schedule because there's sort of like weirdly nothing happening. But also you still want to read it even though there's nothing going on. And so it's really easy to pick up and put down.
Yeah, the plot happens over 4 books instead of the plot happening in each book.
The first book has a decent plot, okay?
The first book...
Does it?
Not really, actually.
The tension is the other vampires, and they're trying to, like, while she's falling in love with Edward, they're trying to, like, save the town from the non-vegetarian ones.
Yeah, that takes forever to get to, though.
Yeah. I was like, the group of vampires isn't introduced until 75% of the way through the book.
Okay, well.
I have to watch these
Thunder
movies
Baseball
now.
is the greatest scene in movie history.
I love Thunder Baseball.
Okay, another redundant question. Would you watch the movie or TV show of the book?
I'm going to watch it after this.
Yes.
Guys, I went as a joke mostly because I was on like this class trip to San Antonio. Our teacher was like, hey, tonight's the midnight premiere of Breaking Dawn Part 1. Do you guys want to go? And we were like, yeah, whatever. Or was it Part 2? It's whichever one has that little plot twist that's not really in the books.
That's Part 2.
Okay, so it was Part 2. So we're at the midnight premiere, and the place was lit, guys. So lit. The women, so many women, and one girl, when that little plot twist happens, it didn't actually happen in the book, and before it shows, it's just a vision or whatever. The audience like gasped, and she got up, and she goes, "I'm out," and left, and never came back. She never saw that it wasn't actually how it went.
Dude, she
yeah, I've seen all the movies multiple times, and I even like went to the premiere.
That's so funny. Yeah, I watched them like probably like a year ago now. Obsessed with them. I think they're so fun. And if you ever need to play a drinking game with your friends, they're perfect. Anytime someone sparkles, boom.
You're done.
Ooh, dangerous.
Yeah. Especially a new moon.
Okay. Well, do you guys have a busy girl rating?
Oh boy. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
No, no.
Me too.
It's
Me
so
too.
campy. It's so ridiculous. And it's a paced book that is so poorly paced, but also so greatly paced.
Okay, but like when I read it when it first came out, like if you're thinking about it pre-movies, pre like the meme culture, like I destroyed this book. Busy Girl 5.
Yeah.
It's not a
Okay.
hard read. You made that very clear. And
Yeah. It's very easy.
I'm not that enthusiastic. I'm gonna give it a Busy Girls 3. I mean, it is the musings of an incredibly cringy, problematic 17-year-old girl.
You're gonna have so much fun with New Moon.
Her incredibly problematic, toxic boyfriend. And I think there's supreme enjoyment in that. But if you're not going to read a book for the meme, you can't read this book just as a serious book. Not if you're an adult. Not now. Not in 2025. If you do, I'm a little concerned for you. Like, truthfully, I'm not sure we can be friends because the book is absolutely insane. So I think if you're kind of down for the plot or you want a nostalgia read, it's a good book. But it's not like it's not like reading a book that's actually good.
Yes.
I do not like this slander.
Caitlin, actually, you should really read it again.
Yeah.
I probably should, but with what free time?
Yeah, that's my issue. Is I didn't have enough free time to read it. I was planning on it, but things got busy.
Fair enough. It always happens. So yeah, spoiler alert, if it's possible to spoil one of the most infamous franchises in American history that's been out for 20 years. It's not too late. It wasn't too late for me. You could still read it, so go read it.
Be in on the jokes. Be in on the jokes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Honestly, that was the best part, was like finally getting all the meme of it all and all the quotes that everyone loves. I was like, oh, I finally get it. So yeah. First question. What do you think of Bella? How about her relationship with her dad?
Yeah.
She has a moody teenager. Like she was a vibe.
I felt her vibe, yes.
As like a moody 12, 13-year-old, she was a vibe at the time. I was like, all right, I see her plight. But this hot guy likes her.
I was a semi-moody preteen as well. So yeah, I think I really related to Bella in this first book. The second book lost me a bit for a relation, but I was like, oh my God, I feel the same way she does.
Yeah, so as an adult, Bella is horrible. But as I was reading, I could actually understand why the book became such a sensation, because I think Stephanie Meyer did perfectly capture how teenage girls see themselves.
Yes.
And Bella's super insecure. She feels like she's not pretty. She's not the it girl. She doesn't fit in. She has that like complex of like, I'm different. People don't get me. Like, for better or worse, I mean, she's extremely pick me. I mean, it's a book written 20 years ago. It's not written with 2025 sensibilities. But it's also like, that's what being a teenager feels like. You feel like people don't get you. You feel awkward. And she like perfectly personifies that.
Yeah. And somehow in the movie, they get that too.
Yep. Kristen Stewart did amazing with this.
Dude, it's perfect for the role.
Yes. There were scenes in the book, because the movie does follow the book so closely, that as I was reading, I could see the movie in my head. And I was like, oh my God, I thought Kristen Stewart was such a bad actress. And she's literally doing it perfectly.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
She's actually doing it perfectly.
Yep.
She's not a bad actress. She took the source material to new heights. To be fair, I had watched Twilight because I had it on my little tiny DVD player with a little DVD, and I would watch it on trips. And So I had watched Twilight, so reading it, I imagined these characters as like Kristen Stewart, Rob Patterson, like Taylor Lautner. So I was like, this is crazy
I don't
how
even remember what I pictured them before I saw the movies, you know? Like in my head, they're just synonymous now. It's kind of like Harry Potter. It's hard to even remember what I pictured before the movies were made. It just is now.
Right. But yeah, okay, so this book does have like heavy Mormon themes, and people always talk about that specifically because there's like some very pro-life ideologies in the book.
Like I said, have you been to Forks?
Yep.
Yeah. But the other like extremely Mormon thing in the book that I feel like people don't really talk about is Bella's relationship with her dad. Because peace and love, Charlie was amazing in the movies. I'm so glad Bella had at least one adult who was actually paying attention to her. In the movies, he's also like, or in the books, he's also like hella helpless. Like Bella cooks every single dinner for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is crazy that
I don't really know if that's Mormon. It's just single dad.
Yeah.
But it's like single dad who's not even trying. Like he's just expecting his like female daughter to like take care of him. I was like, this is crazy. And in the book, Bella like likes it and wants to do that. But I was like, this is so like Christian girl being like a faithful daughter, like taking care of the men in her life.
It's crazy.
It was so like.
But I think we could all admit Charlie in the movies, hot.
Hot. The hottest one somehow.
Yes.
Team Charlie.
Team Charlie.
Okay, so we've already talked about Forks a lot, but what did you guys think of it as a setting for the book?
It feels far more idyllic in the book, and then when you go there in real life, you're like, why did you pick this town?
Yeah, why?
Like Port Angeles was an hour away.
Yeah.
Is it just because of the res? Like, I don't know.
I think it was because like they needed to be like remote because they're vampires. But at the same, I get why they chose the Pacific Northwest because the sparkle thing.
I was
And it's very cloudy.
like, I was like, how would nobody notice these people hunting in the woods? And then I went to Olympic National Park. I was like, never mind. They'd never be found.
Yeah, the amount, you would be surprised, the amount of murder mysteries that happen in
Like if Bigfoot's
Olympic.
real, he lives in Washington.
But like the amount of people, there's like a whole lake in Olympic that's just known for dead people. Like people get like murdered there all the time and like get drowned.
Like beautiful.
Yes.
So pretty.
So pretty, but you're never going to find a body.
Houses all over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the setting is immaculate for this book, but choosing Forks out of all of the really podunk towns is crazy to me.
Okay, but also like it just fits Bella so well. Like the moody atmosphere of the setting fits her moody teen angst. And like she's not going anywhere. It's so remote, like you said. So like the best thing she has to entertain herself is this mysterious new guy.
Yes. I think the setting is actually somewhat genius because it allows the teenage angst of the book to be heightened as much as possible. Like you say, Caitlin, it matches Bella perfectly. Like also the setting is very potent and written out. Like it feels like a very real character in and of itself, which I love it when authors make the setting sort of its own character. And also like the woods are like a huge sort of creepy symbolic figure in the book. And
the wildflower meadow, that scene, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
It's like the little bit of light within the forest, the gloomy forest, you know?
Right. It's very like, it feels very well, like it personifies the characters and the plot as well as like just being the setting. It also does just make sense practically, like they need to live somewhere cloudy.
Yeah.
The one sort of nitpicky thing I felt about it was like, it actually does not make sense for vampires to live in small towns.
No.
Cloudy places,
they stuck
for
out
sure.
so bad.
Yes.
Everyone in this, different.
Yes, everyone in this tiny ass town knows who they are. If they lived in Seattle, no one would give a shit. They could live in obscurity forever.
Why did they enroll them in high school?
Yeah, that was crazy.
You have to move in 4 years, that means.
Yes. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Weird.
Also, it's literally unbelievable that any of those kids were actually high schoolers.
Yes.
Even in the books, they comment on how not like high schoolers they are.
Like, why would they torture themselves after 90 years of life plus
Dude, I don't know.
Like Jasper, you were like a Texas Ranger in the like Civil War or whatever. Like, what are you? That didn't make sense, but that's the vibe he gives. Texas
Right.
something. I don't know. Like, why are you going to high school in 2005?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Like, high schoolers don't want to take biology the first time around. It literally seems like the worst possible thing to do with your own like version of eternity.
I will say something very progressive that like I didn't catch when I was like 10 was the Native American representation in this book. Like it was just there, but also like that's crazy for 2005.
Well, because Sporks is like 50-50, I felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like it tracked. And honestly, it added a lot richer, especially when you get in the new moon, the lore of like the tribal lore of the werewolves protecting from the vampire and stuff. Just like it was a really nice addition.
Mm-hmm. Team
Right.
Jacob.
Hell yeah.
Team Boo Boo Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you guys think of Edward back in the day? When you first met him, and then also at the end when him and Bella are #together.
He gave me the ick. As a 10-year-old, he gave me the ick. I had a really good ick radar. Well, he just like would disappear.
The mystery.
Yeah.
Watching her sleep's weird.
Yes, I thought that was weird back then. I didn't really clock the like 90-year-old. So I was like, oh, he's just perpetually 17. That's not how that works. My math was very off as a kid. And that's why I can justify resand now. Yeah. I mean, now that I've read like excerpts of Midnight Sun, it's just even grosser. And I'm even more anti-Edward than I was back then. But I will say, as a very, very pale girly, I did respect the pale representation. But then I also disrespect it because I was asked if I could sparkle many times as a kid because of it. Yes. Yeah. So the insults went from "Are you a ghost?" to "Can you sparkle?" So hate you, Stephanie Meyer, for doing that, but also representation.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I can tell you. So when I was a kid, I thought Edward looked so sickly and horrific that I was just Team Jacob by default. Watching the movies, I was like, okay, like I kind of like Edward. Like he's definitely still intense and like kind of a freak, but in the books, yeah, he's just very intense and like aloof and mysterious. Like, I'm like, all right, I can see the appeal. In the books, Edward is crazy. Edward is unhinged in the books, like watching her sleep, like sitting outside in the woods and watching her when she gets home all night, like following her to Port Angeles. And then all of this stuff, like the insane way he treated her, like being so like enraged by her scent and then immediately switching it up and being like, I can't stay away from you. It is crazy.
Yes, but as like a 7th grader, when the men around me were not at all up to par, Period. Yeah, it worked.
I think the craziest thing for me in this book is I didn't realize how short the timeline was. And the whole book literally like takes 2 weeks. It is not even months, it's weeks, and they're literally like, I would die for you by the end of it.
They say I love you, which is crazy.
Yeah. And they don't actually like really have conversations.
No.
Also, her finding out he's a vampire is actually really anticlimactic in the books.
Yes.
She's like, cool.
Yeah.
He's like, aren't you scared? And she's like, nah.
So yeah, I hated Edward. I could not stand him. Like, I understand why young girls at the time were into this, but as an adult, I was like, this is crazy.
You had your pick. You wanted 7th grade boys, or you wanted him? I was picking him at the time.
I mean, fair. I think I was picking him at the time. I'd
still pick that.
I was picking him at the time, but once we got into New Moon, I was like, oh, I'm picking Jacob.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So the book also has a pretty like wide set of side characters. They're kind of these like cringy high schoolers that Bella's like too cool for. She doesn't really fit in with. Including like 3 boys that all are obsessed with her. Um, what did you think of the high school side characters?
It's crazy to me how she was like, oh, I just like feel so awkward and like no one likes me and I'm not pretty. I'm like, you've been asked out to the dance by like 4 people.
Yeah.
The idea that you are undesirable is not true.
I felt like they were Stephanie Meyer as an adult did a good job writing high schoolers for this friend group.
Yep.
I just can't not picture Anna Kendrick and I fucking love her. So I was like, this is great.
Yeah. The side characters were one of the things that I actually think the movies did a little bit better. I think Stephanie Meyer actually did do a good job of writing high schoolers and their cringy petty glory. But also like in the books or in the movies, excuse me, I felt like especially Anna Kendrick's character almost adds like a sarcastic reality check. Especially to Bella's like self-obsessiveness and kind of like almost like narcissism about her own self and like the goings-ons of her own life.
Which fair, that's a high schooler for you.
Yep, because she is literally so unconcerned and uncurious about the people around her, which sadly I was too at that age.
Yeah, but you see some of the friends are kind of like checking on her and she's just like in her own world.
Right.
They're like, oh, they were actually pretty solid friends. She just sucks.
Yeah,
right.
She's just a shitty friend.
And yeah, Bella's actually the worst friend in the book. Like, and one of the girls in particular, it actually warmed my heart to read this. I really liked this scene in the book, and I don't think it's in the movie. But the girl like checks in on her and makes sure that she wants to go with Edward and not go with them. And it was actually like a kind of a nice depiction of like high school girls. Like, yeah, they have the same crushes and don't always get along, but also like they were really like trying to look out for Bella. And I thought that was nice.
Yeah. Consent is sexy.
Consent is sexy.
And checking in on your friend to make sure that she's not being kidnapped is great.
Very progressive for 2005.
I know, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot in this book was.
Okay, well, Catherine, the next question. Do you sparkle?
Oh my God.
Just kidding. It says, what do you think of vampires sparkling?
Yeah, I sparkle. As you can see from the sun.
It's really weird that they're described as porcelain.
That's cool.
And then like in the movie break like porcelain.
Yep.
It's strange. It is.
Because also like very cold, like stone, like
yeah.
And their hearts is more like stone. I honestly kind of wanted to give her props for the vampire stuff because we've read a lot of fantasy where I feel like authors do a lot of regurgitative shit and don't really try to imagine oldness.
It's unique.
It was very unique.
She actually really did make the vampire thing her own. Like she kept it sort of faithful to the general idea, but edited a lot of the details. And I thought it was kind of cool and iconic to have a vampire be sparkly.
Well, and then like mixing it in with Native American lore and mixing it in with this idea that there's a pact between the cold ones, a pact between the werewolf community, the tribe, and the vampires to be vegans, essentially, for vampires. Even though it's not really vegan to drink animal blood, but that's how I'm going to call it.
Yeah, they're like vegetarian vampires.
Right. I did like the whole backstory of like the tribe knew about them and were the kind of the guardians. And then they met this vampires that they had this truce with. I think that's one of the best parts of the series is the like almost like political maneuverings of these protectors of the land.
Mm-hmm.
However, the vampires are predators.
Yes.
Yes.
And Bella is technically prey, despite them being vegetarians. But she's the best smelling piece of meat Edward's ever seen. What do you think about that dynamic?
They talk about it so much in this book. Like I remember that from like reading it. It was just like, I'm a predator and you're the prey. How do you feel? And she's just like, I don't care.
You think you can outrun me?
Yeah.
This is the skin of a killer Bella. See, I So quotable. But the fact that Bella figures out what he is and willingly goes over to his house in a house full of vampires, like she's dumb as rocks. Like,
Yes.
Yes, she's dumb. Has
like,
no
oh,
self-preservation.
I'm invited into the lion's den. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially
I don't know
because as these things happen, they actively have to like excuse themselves because they can't control themselves around her.
Yeah.
I will say though, Bella coming from a broken family and entering the home of the found family, like the ultimate found family of the Cullens, is very sweet.
Yes, I mean they're very nice to her.
Mhm.
The scene in the book where they meet her actually came a lot sooner than I thought it would.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, they've had 2 conversations and now he's like, come to the vampire den. I was like, oh. But yeah, I mean, I didn't honestly mind the predator prey dynamic. I get why it's kind of sexy. You know, he's powerful and pursuing her, and you know, she's just a human. She's just a girl. She's definitely not a feminist main character.
No.
But
Mm-mm.
I got the appeal of it.
She's 16.
And he's allegedly 17, but actually is 90.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
and a virgin, no less.
And a 90-year-old virgin. That's the craziest part of that situation.
Yeah.
Well, when you live in the woods and the only people around you are your quote siblings.
But he doesn't live in the woods his whole life.
Yeah, but we don't get a lot about where he was before. We just know he died of like fever or whatever.
Influenza,
Right?
Spanish flu.
Right. Well, that brings us to the rest of the Cullens, who are the cuntiest group of bitches.
Mhm.
Absolutely just fierce queens.
And this is why my mother won't recommend our podcast to people.
I'm sorry, it's just true. They are. They are, each and every one of them is absolutely for the drama, for the plot. Like they love it. They love the spectacle of it all.
I fucking love Alice.
Queen.
Alice is queen.
Alice is
Carlisle.
queen.
They're like the same age, but the patriarch of our dreams, you know?
Yeah.
Even in this one, I forget the names of the other ones, but the beef guy.
Emmett, how dare you
Emmett,
forget names?
he is really nice in this book and comes across like really just
like
great.
A teddy bear.
Yeah, teddy bear, and like really helps Bella and is so nice to her. Like they were great. It was nice.
Mm-hmm. Baseball, Thunder baseball. No complaints.
Best scene in cinema.
Right. Okay, so now we're to the love triangle. Twilight is very much like the original iconic love triangle in teen fiction, and teen fiction absolutely cannot shake itself from the clutches of the love triangle.
Nope.
So I think one of the things that surprised me the most in this book, because I think the movies especially, but my impression of the series in general, was that Edward was always the endgame romance. Jacob comes across so much better than Edward. It's like crazy.
Yep.
And he's younger, so he's a little bit
Age
like more. Well, yes. Well, yes. But it also like their interactions read to me like a proper romance. Like it's not this weird, stilted, tense, like, who are you? Is he going to be around today? Oh, am I going to scare him off? It's like actually reads like 2 high schoolers that have some flirtatious chemistry, like starting to like each other. I was like, oh, so here's the real romance.
Hence why I like Jacob.
Yeah. And also it's a lot more slow burn.
Next door.
He is. And since he is a little younger than her, he does come across like a little bit too much of like a kid. But I really liked the setup, and I can already tell I'm going to be Team Jacob, and I can already tell I'm going to be mad that she doesn't end up with Jacob because I already think their relationship is so much like cuter and better.
Yeah. And we all know what he becomes.
Right.
What do you think of the idea of like raising him as a werewolf?
Of him being a werewolf?
Yeah.
It does get weird.
It does.
Yes.
That she's like interacting with werewolves, but I don't know how it gets much weirder because she's already interacting with vampires. It's the most weird in the 4th book, okay? But it's kind of badass because of the Indian lore, the Native American lore.
The tribe's great.
Yeah. His dad, boss.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't know. I always like the Native American tribe in the books throughout all of them until he imprints.
Yeah, no, that's fucked up. I immediately Jacob loses me at that point.
No, that's the part that's way too much and just also like what? But I liked him being a werewolf. I like that it's like the kind of overarching plot of the book is like this battle across centuries between two like powerful ancient creatures, and then one of them has been the protector of humans because they live amongst humans more easily, and then the vampires have been the enemy, and now there's this group of vampires that's trying to rewrite that. Like, I just love the kind of setup of like these two ancient powerful clans,
modernizing.
meeting again in the modern world.
And playing Thunder baseball.
Playing Thunder baseball. Iconic.
Okay. So Bella goes on this. She thinks her mom's in trouble.
Yes.
Which, like, we always forget about. I feel like that I forget about the entire point of the story is when she goes to Arizona.
Right.
But she gets attacked by this territorial vampire who wants Edward's tree. And he lures her away like a predator. And she almost dies because she gets bitten. And there's like a battle. Were you rooting for her to turn vampire?
Yes.
Okay, I think everyone was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was
and
like,
then he sucks out the venom without killing her, and you're like, oh, that was kind of romantic.
He maintained his self-control. It's sexy.
Yeah, who knew blood drinking would be sort of sexy to a 13-year-old?
Yeah.
It was sexy for sure.
Thank God I didn't know what the Omegaverse was back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think this series is sort of infuriating because if they had just let her become a vampire then like nothing else in the series would have needed.
Well, then it wouldn't be a series.
I know, but it's like then in the end they just do the thing that they could have had happen in the
But he doesn't want her frozen at 16. He wants her to make the choice because he is older and wiser, technically.
Right.
Even though afterwards she like got the taste and she's like, I just want to be with you.
Thinking back on it as an adult, because like I definitely wanted her to be a vampire because I was like, oh my God, their love forever.
Yes,
and then even though I hated Edward. But I was like, thinking about it as an adult, Edward was right. Like she needed to experience her human life. She was like a baby who didn't know anything about herself. So she needed to like learn more about herself.
Now, did he need to be suicidal over it in the next book?
No. No. Did he need to be absolutely batshit crazy in New Moon? No, he did not.
Right. But they both are like battling some like, like the real world. He's like, no, she's like a child. And she's like, well, I'm in love. I don't know.
No, it was definitely like objectively the right decision to let her live as a human. Also, all of the vampires know that it's not a blessing to live as a vampire. Like they all miss being humans. So the decision made sense. It's just sort of frustrating in the context of the series when she just becomes a vampire anyway. So yeah, I think Bella should be a vampire. Also, no, I don't believe Edward and Bella love each other.
They're obsessed with each other. I don't think
they're obsessed with each other and they have an attraction to each other. But I cannot emphasize enough how insta-love the book is.
Yep.
So insta-love.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from Bella thinking Edward hates her because he has this extreme reaction to her the first few days at school, to him like immediately flipping and being like, let's be friends.
Can't stay away. He's curious.
Right. And then they just are immediately dating. And then like literally the next day after that, they're like, I love you. I would die for you.
Yeah. And the high school friends are reasonably like, that's weird, Bella.
Yeah. The high school friends are like, you sure you want to hang out with those weirdos?
She really should have listened to them more. Like,
yes.
Really should have.
It's sort of funny because this book reads very delusional, like very Delulu, where the book just operates on this logic of a 17-year-old. And they just like, for the most part, accept that as reality. But then you get these moments where you realize actually that the outside world is, in fact, seeing their relationship as weird and bad. Like Charlie being concerned with her friends being like, Bella, this is kind of crazy. It's like,
like I said, reading this is like a 13-year-old. I'm like, yeah, okay. And as an adult, I'm like, an adult wrote this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've read weirder, to be fair, but
Yes, we've read weirder, but still.
No, it's like, I think the book is not like well written necessarily, but the thing I think that Stephanie Meyer genuinely deserves props for is I have never read an adult write a teenager so well.
Yeah.
Like,
I also feel like it hit big because paranormal romance was not at all popular at the time.
Mhm.
right.
So she wrote it well for teens, and she brought us back to this kind of fantasy world that I feel like we were in, we were very much in dystopian lit at the time.
Right.
So I feel like it was new on the market. It was a unique love story. It was written perfectly for teens.
Right. Like she just gets and is very in touch with,
She hit the sweet spot.
right, their inner thoughts, their desires, the kind of illicit hopes of a teenage girl.
And every girl just, it's written kind of fairy tale style where the man drops in, wins your heart, and swoops you away,
Right.
Just written for a teenager.
Right.
The
No, it's-
toxicity of teenageum.
Yep. It is true. Very traditional fairy tale.
It is entirely her fault, though, that we all love Rhysand, so.
Yes.
Well, you can't blame her for me because I didn't consume anything by her and still loved him.
Fair enough.
But it's only acceptable because pop culture accepts it, and it's largely because of Twilight, and you just are part of it.
That is true.
Secondhand acceptance.
Secondhand acceptance is real.
Or maybe, honestly, we're
use
just
the
all
trope.
tired of men our own age, so.
So we need a 250-year-old Fey man to swoop in.
Exactly. And yeah, what a
I
night.
mean, maybe at 250 years old, they'll actually be more mature.
Maybe. Well, here's a weird question. Do you have book recs?
I have no idea.
You know what? I'm going to pull a Casey and say The Serpent and the Wings of Night.
There we go. It's always the right answer.
It's funny because I was like putting these on our website, the book racks, and like I feel like every other book has Serpent and the Wings of Night mentioned by one of us, and we all hate the second book.
Yeah. Yeah. Because notice how we never say Ashes and the Star-Cursed King.
Hell no, but if you want some sexy vampire stuff, Serpent and the Wings of Night.
Right.
I'm just going to recommend New Moon because I think that it's like a classic you have to read, even though it's horrifyingly horrible.
Okay, but if you get through it, Eclipse is solid.
Eclipse is the best book in the series, I would argue.
Okay.
Yeah.
LOL. I am going to recommend Throne of Glass.
Fair.
Another book, it at least starts out very teen.
Written by a teen.
Written by a teen. And also in the fantasy universe. Obviously, not really fantasy romance in the same way Twilight is. A little heavier into the fantasy like genre. But it's definitely like if you want to read a teen romance, it's a great one. Very long, like saga where you really go on this whole journey with the main character. So,
good rec.
hell yeah.
All right, well, the meme episode is over. If you loved it, please let us know. Give us 5 stars. If you want more throwbacks that are just constantly pop culture popular, let us know. Yeah. Be sure to follow us at Busy Girls Pod, pretty much everywhere, busygirlspod.com if you want to see our book recs and some of our blogs. Yeah, keep in touch. And we are so happy you took the time to listen. And what?
And
if you want us to force Casey to read New Moon and then review it, let us know.
I don't know if I can talk about that book for an hour.
We can talk about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Potentially more Twilight coming soon. With that, I'm Caitlin.
I'm Catherine.
And I'm Casey. Thanks for listening. And when you get a chance, take a break with the Busy Girls Book Club.